Hariom, everyone, and welcome to our community's eighth annual Happiness Series. We think about this as a really special time for all of us to come together, reflect on the year that's gone by, and focus on what truly matters. In our own lives, that means living with purpose, supporting one another, and creating a world that's really rooted in care and compassion. And so to start, can I see everyone give me a big, bright smile? I don't want us to look like we're at the sadness series. Awesome. Love to see that. And as part of the celebration, we're also proud to continue supporting organizations like Saki, sanctuaries and safe spaces, particularly for survivors of violence that are from South Asian descent. It's a reminder to us that happiness isn't just about us, it's about how we can lift others up too. Today, I'm really excited to introduce someone who's been a guide and an inspiration to me and to so many of us in our community, Shri Vivek Gupta, or Vivekji as he's more commonly known. If you've ever had the chance to learn from him, you'll just know that he has this incredible way of making deep ideas feel so simple and so practical. He doesn't just talk about living with joy and purpose, he lives it. And what makes him so relatable is that he understands where we're all coming from. Like many of us, Vivekji started out following what society tells us is the path to happiness. He graduated from a top business school, built a thriving career, but even after checking all the boxes, he looked around and he asked himself, why are so many people in my life pretending to smile? And many of them don't even seem to know it. That single realization took him to take a leap most of us couldn't even imagine. He left it behind to study Vedanta at Sandipani Sadhanalaya under Puja Guruji Swami Tejamananda for more than 2 whole years. And those years of study didn't just change his life. They gave him clarity on what life is really about, finding joy that doesn't depend on anything outside of us. And so for over 15 years now, Vivekji's been sharing what he's learned in ways that connect with people from all walks of life through daily satsang, weekly classes, retreats, or podcast. His message is always the same. Happiness isn't something that we chase. It's something that we create by living with the right principles. Vivekji is speaking at more 400, Fortune 500 companies and leading academic institutions globally than I can personally name, at the likes of Amazon, Carnegie Mellon, and you'll soon see it's because of his ability to blend the sacred and the secular. His really deep knowledge of ancient wisdom to tackle modern problems gives us really applicable solutions to problems we face today, and even problems we don't know we're going to face yet. Currently, Vivekji serves as a spiritual guide for Chinmaya Mission Niagara, and he's helped start centers in places like London, Cleveland, while also supporting communities in places like Albany and Pittsburgh. But beyond all those roles and accomplishments, he's a husband and a father. He lives in Niagara Falls with his wife, Sheila Didi, and his 2 children, Vyasa and Shuka. And it's clear that everything he teaches starts at home with himself. Love, patience, and living by what's right. I've only met 2 people in my entire life where there's no difference in what they know is right and what they do. And Vivekji is one of them. And so this year, we're really fortunate to have Vivekji lead this year's Happiness Series. Please join me in welcoming Vivekji as we begin this journey together. How are you?
Thank you, Apar. When people like you introduce me, then you put too much pressure on my life, especially now as we're about to begin the Happiness Series. But I was smiling as you were introducing me also because I just got an email saying the 2 tickets I had requested for Pearl Jam playing in Pittsburgh, I got those 2 tickets. So it's the best Happiness Series already. Oh. Oh. Hariom and greetings from Niagara Falls. Some years ago, a seeker in our community, she had given me a magazine. It was a special edition of Time magazine entitled The Science of Happiness. And she shared, you should read this. Really, she should read this, but she's telling me I should read this. But I did. And a very unique article that I read in this magazine describes the happiest professions. So now pause. What comes to your mind as the happiest profession? And now I'll ask you to write these in the chat. What do you think the third happiest profession is? According to Time magazine, so sociologists are involved, scientists are involved. Park ranger, athlete, teacher. These are solid answers. According to this article, it is firefighters. Firefighters. Okay, number 2, second happiest profession. A nurse, a philanthropist. I see a lot of teachers. Being a mother. The answer, according to this article, is ticket collectors. When you go to a Taylor Swift concert and you're that ticket collector, imagine the energy in that stadium. And number 1, what is the happiest profession? Some of you are writing pharmacists, doctors. They're quite low on the list, like 25 and 50, I think. It is those who work for the clergy, according to this article. It's those who try to practice and teach divinity. So these are the 3 happiest professions. In 2016, in our community, we started using Zoom. And Zoom was so easy to use, so I started teaching 3 online classes a week, on Sundays, on Tuesdays, on Thursdays. And as we started to use Zoom, our community grew exponentially. So in 2017, at the end of the year, we initiated the Happiness Series. The Happiness Series is a forum. It is an opportunity for all of us to remind each other that the way we're going to be better in our professions, in our relations, in our lives is through happiness. The purpose of our courses, our community, etc., is happiness. So the happiness is a celebration of us communing for this purpose, which we started in 2017, and every year we have followed through with the Happiness Series. And so for the 8th Happiness Series in 2024, I welcome everyone. Everyone from all over. I can see so many smiling faces. Those who don't have their cameras on, I'm waiting to see your smiling face. As we flow through the Happiness Series, I'm encouraging everyone to be present. Be here. Be now. Lots happened earlier today. Lots will happen tomorrow. For the Happiness Series, be here and now. In past Happiness Series, we've explored subjects like cheerful parenting, personality powers, and so on. Many of those recordings are on Chinmaya Niagara's Facebook page or YouTube channel. This year, we are going to explore, we're going to try to explore facing stigma. Before I get into some thoughts on stigmas, how many of you feel that you faced a stigma in your life? By show of hands. Please share in the chat. How did it make you feel? What were the ramifications of having a stigma in you, on you, etc.? It made you feel isolated. small, lonely. When I was younger, there was a really intense movie released called Stigmata. How many of you have watched Stigmata before? An intense movie. And it made me research what stigma is more. A stigma is a mark. It is a mark that makes you feel small. It is a mark that makes you feel shame. So stigma, this expressed in a certain way is stigmata. I remember many years ago being in a workshop, and a really insightful teacher was facilitating this, and she began this workshop by sharing, I am not who I think I am. I am not who you think I am. I am what I think you're thinking about me. Can you visualize how heavy that is? Me thinking about what you're thinking about me. And the more I think about this, it's like this cycle becomes deeper. This cycle becomes more damaging. I become confused. I become lost. And that's why it is critical to slow down what a stigma is doing to us, can do to us. By slowing this down, then we can break it. I'm sharing words that are very optimistic, but there's a methodology to doing this. We have to face this stigma. For some, it's about their appearance. For some, it's about a decision they've made. When we face this, we can understand this. Only then will the slowing and breaking happen. In fact, a few months from now, in Cleveland, at the end of March, the 28th to the 30th, we have an entire retreat, an immersive retreat on facing stigma and rising above them. Please keep that city and those dates in mind, and more will be shared about that. In the Happiness series, I've told you some of the history of this. We're exploring facing stigmas. And on day one, we're going to take up redefining prosperity. Before I share some insights into this, I'm checking in with all of you. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Everyone has their names written out. Everyone has their cameras on. Please share in the chat. If you can define prosperity in one word or one phrase, what would it be? Share with me, share with everyone. What is your understanding of prosperity? Feeling full, external security, peace and happiness, contentment. These are very meaningful answers that you're sharing. When I was speaking in Niagara Falls recently, one of my uncles, someone who's known my family before I was born, he had asked me in front of a group of people, why did you leave business to go and be a brahmachari or a monk? And I had shared with him, and I like when people ask such questions because it makes me think more about trajectory, purpose, and so on. I had shared with him, when I got into business, I started to see so many people who were smiling, but they were pretending to smile. They weren't genuinely smiling. Isn't there a movie called Smile with this really creepy looking smile, and anyone who sees this gets killed by that? So they copied that from the business world. They copied that from so many of our lives. So this notion of me wanting to go and study as a monk, study happiness, I didn't want to pretend to smile. But somehow, myself and others, we get seduced by the world into pretending how to smile. Just think of a corporation. What comes to your mind when you think of a corporation? Maybe a show like Mad Men, where everyone's in their suits and everyone's living it up. Think about college. In college, there's so much about name, image, likeness. You'll be so popular, you'll have so many comforts. I've been teaching and traveling for almost 17 years now, and I meet hundreds, maybe even thousands of high school students who, when they describe to me what time they wake up, what time they sleep, what they do all day, what they do on the weekends, it's like they're robots, just trying to populate some sort of sheet to get into college, to get into this, to get into that. We do get seduced into pretending to smile. Now, suppose this is the symptom, pretending to smile, not being genuinely happy. If there's a symptom, then naturally there has to be a source of this. And I'll tell you some of the genesis about why we have come to feel that prosperity is happiness when prosperity and happiness are different. Prosperity, me pretending to smile. Happiness, me smiling. Anything that is created is subject to atrophy. Do you agree? Just go back to 2017 and think about how you looked in 2017 and now how you look in 2024. Atrophy, correct? Outwardly, this atrophy is in the form of decay. Our teeth, our hair, our spine. Inwardly, for those who are easily influenceable, it's in the form of distraction. Decay outwardly, distraction inwardly. And when we are distracted, it starts to deplete us. Just like an older person whose body is decaying, they don't have as much energy. Someone who's distracted in their inner world, they don't have as much enthusiasm for life, for their day. And when we are depleted, what is the path that we choose? The easy path. Think about this in terms of food. What's the easiest thing to eat? Processed food. High fructose corn syrup. Choosing that which is easy when we're looking after, let's say, the younger generation. Just watch the iPad. Put a movie on. When it comes to interacting with people, it's being negative, speaking harsh words. When it comes to those who have taken up new jobs post their college education, it's living in the big city, because in the big city, it's more fun, but then you just have to live for a mortgage then. Everything you do is to pay off where you live. So why we have seduced ourselves into thinking prosperity is happiness? Because we're depleted. We choose that which is easy. And so the easiest way to be happy is through more pleasure, more possession, and more position. But we're not gathered to discuss the sadness series. We're here to think about the happiness series. By thinking, we can slow and break this stigma. By facing it, we can understand it. And so I'm going to introduce for now, because we have so much more to explore just in day one of the happiness series in terms of our dynamics and dialogue. I'm going to introduce this in a light way. The solution on how to redefine prosperity to not be pleasure, possession, position, but rather for this to be happiness. It is shared in a manual. This manual is called Srimad Bhagavatam. In this manual, there's a hero. There's someone who follows through with being happy, and his name is Sri Krishna. He has set up precedent for us on how we can have a fundamental understanding of what prosperity is. And this involves 4 Ds. Sri Krishna in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is described that he would wake up early and engage in dhyana. I'll share all of this in English too. After dhyana, he would engage in dhamma. After that, dana. And finally, in dharma. Now, giving you simple English words for this. Dhyana is to quieten one's inner world. Wake up early and quieten your inner world. You can do that by reading. You can do that by journaling. Next in this sequence is Dhamma. Dhamma is to idolize the best version of yourself. If you want to be more patient, if you want to be more carefree, if you want to be more disciplined, to idolize this, to think it, to say it, to chant this. After that is dana. Dana is where one is being grateful for everything that they have and planning their day, planning their life to help others who don't have what I have and what you have. And finally, dharma. Then you exert. Then you follow through with the way you've quietened yourself, you've idolized the best version of yourself, you've planned to share this with others, then exert. And if you follow through, everything that you want, that will come from within. You will be part of a self-reward system that I want more quietness. I want more stillness. I want more joy. I want more independence. All of that will come from within. And so one will evolve from prosperity being external to prosperity being internal. Prosperity being happiness. Those are some insights for us to continue to reflect on, and now to help us feel this, for us to personalize this, our team is going to continue as we shift into our dynamics and into our dialogue. Team?
Hariom, everyone. The dynamics portion of our happiness series is going to be led by Indira Palekar. Indira ji has been a practicing psychologist in the Ohio area for the past 30 years. She works with people of all ages, including children and adolescents. Currently, she's working with adults age 18 all the way to 106 years old in her role as a private practitioner, and she also serves a retirement community. She's been certified through the Chinmaya International Foundation as a Hindu spiritual care provider, and she's also currently completing her chaplaincy training at a local hospital in the Cleveland area. She serves and studies at Chinmaya Gayatri in Cleveland and also volunteers her time to train therapy dogs, which she's been doing for the past 23 years. I've had the opportunity of getting to know Indira ji during my time in Cleveland, and I know with her wealth of knowledge as a psychologist, as well as her experience as a seeker, that she will help us to better grasp the concepts that we are learning from Vivek ji, and more importantly, show us how we can apply them in our everyday lives. With that, I will pass it over to Indira ji.
Thank you, Archana. Thank you, Vivek ji. Really appreciate this opportunity. I hope you can hear me well. So I'm not going to talk a whole lot about stigma or prosperity. Vivek ji has done that. So one point that Vivek ji made that really makes sense is that when we feel stigmatized, It's almost as if we begin to shrink. It makes us smaller, and we also get very much filled with a sense of shame, which makes us shrink even more. And when we think of prosperity, we can think, like in the external world, we can think about as abundance. And the word that really resonates for me is enoughness. I don't know whether there is a word called enoughness, but that's the word that comes up. So when we have a sense of enoughness, then I think our responses and how we present ourselves in the world becomes very different than when we go chasing after prosperity in the external world. So the exercise that we are going to do today, I hope if we can show that diagram on the screen, that would be very helpful. I hope you all have 2 sheets of paper. And if you don't have it, I would like for you to trace your hands, your left hand and your right hand. And once you have traced it, we will start with the left hand where the thumb, if you can label that as spiritual, if you can label the index finger, the second finger as mental, emotional, and the third finger as occupational, and the fourth finger as social, relational, and the fifth, the little finger as physical. So we would do the same naming for both hands, but we'll start with the left hand. I hope everyone has it. Yeah? Okay. Thank you, Yatin. So as we begin this process, this exercise, the main purpose is for us to sort of become aware of how we end up feeling when certain experiences happen for us in the outer world. So it really impacts how we end up thinking, how we end up feeling, and then, of course, how we end up behaving in the world, how we experience the world, if you will. So I want you to listen to my statements in a very deep way. I will tell you when I start to make those statements, and to really put yourself in this context that I'm really making the statements, and really get into the deep meaning of the statements. Sometimes it helps to close your eyes and listen. You don't have to do anything right now, just to listen. So I'm going to read some statements for you. And as I'm reading them, really pay attention to it and put yourself into that statements as though it is happening to you right now. Because I want you to get into the frame of mind, so then the next set of instructions will really make sense to you. So here we go. So deeply listen to these statements and allow yourself to be impacted by it. Really let it sink into your being. You hear a negative statement about your appearance, a part of your body, or about your weight, or your skin color. You hear someone making a pejorative statement about your mental health issue. You hear someone say, but you're part of this model minority. You shouldn't have problems. How come you didn't ace the test? Or finish that project? I can't believe you don't understand this. You speak really good English. You have some strange customs. Your food has strange smells. And that color, what's with that? Why do you all wear a dot on your forehead? That is so weird. Why do you have idols? And why do you worship so many gods? That makes no sense to us. Why are you pursuing a spiritual path? You have everything in life. What's wrong that you're attending all these lectures and following swamis? Are you becoming a part of a cult? Are they brainwashing you? Now really allow these statements to sink into you. And we'll give you 3 minutes to jot down what thoughts and feelings came up for you as you were listening to my statements for each of these 5 categories. And as you look at prosperity in these 5 areas through the lens of the stigma, you feel stigmatized, and how will you look at prosperity in these areas? So I'll give you 3 minutes, just jot down your thoughts and feelings, starting now. Okay, I hope everyone is done with their left hand. Now just take a couple of deep breaths and just let go of all those thoughts and feelings that came up for you. Sort of just clearing your mind away from those stigmatized experiences. Now let's look at the right hand. So for the right hand, I want you to think about how will you define prosperity or enoughness in these same 5 areas of your life if you are not burdened by stigma? When you feel free to be who you are and feel you are free to express yourself fully, how would prosperity or enoughness look and feel for you without the weight of stigma? So we'll have about 2 minutes for you to do that. So go ahead and get started with the right hand. Okay, I hope everybody got done. So I would like for you to share in the chat. First, we'll start with the left hand. What came up for you when you felt stigmatized? What are some of the thoughts and feelings that came up for you? Inferior, unfair, powerless, anger, unsafe, disappointment, stressed, sad, insecure, depressed, defensive, yeah, resentment, unmotivated, low confidence, doubting myself, anxious, yes, uneasy, negative emotions, inferior, fear, resentment, yes, absolutely, humiliated, yeah, exactly, misunderstood, stigmatized, absolutely, yeah, frustration that really spills into every aspect of your life, yes, distressful, for sure. Now take a moment and put in the chat what you came up with as you were looking at your right hand, when you were just allowing yourself to be free and to be who you are, and you could express yourself fully. Good health, confident, empower, freeing, light, contentment, calm, acceptance, sharing, creative, authentic, happy, energetic, friendly, fearless, genuine, authentic, vibrant. Yes, wonderful, absolutely. All of these things. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, so in effect, when we think about how the world affects us, how it impacts us, and how we end up then experiencing the world is so important. And what Vivekji talked about just now, the 4Ds, that how can we create a space in our mind so we can be quieter and calmer? Because it's proven beyond doubt that the mind is quieter. There's much more clarity in our mind, and we are able to make responsive choices, not reactive choices. So it's really using the 4Ds and any other technique that we can use to really quiet our mind so we can face the stigma when it comes our way and be able to ready so we don't absorb them, we don't personalize them. Because when we absorb and personalize, we tend to react. That takes us away from clarity. And as Vivekji said, it really takes us to that place of confusion. And then the distraction and the decay begins to happen. So I hope you had some insight into this dynamic. And thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Vivekji. Thank you, everyone. I think I'll turn it over to Yatin now.
Thank you so much, Indira ji. Wonderful, wonderful dynamics portion as well. We're now going to move on to the next section, which is a dialogue as well, something that we get an opportunity to try out as part of the Happiness series. And no other person who's going to do an introduction as well. So we're bringing on Apar one more time as well to be able to do another introduction for us as well. Apar, over through to you to introduce Teyjas.
Awesome. So Teyjas Tamilis is going to help us lead the dialogue portion for this evening. And, I've known Teyjas for a while. He's in second grade. He's been part of Chinmaya mission since Shishu Vihar. He's a really avid reader, loves sports, plays a ton of them, baseball, soccer. He's about to start basketball. And, in school, he loves math, enjoys playing chess, totally all-rounded. I personally played basketball with him a few months ago in Cleveland, and I told him not to forget what I taught him when we see him go pro in a few years. Right now, he's attending happy hour with Sumanji, learning about the meaning behind our practices and rituals, and he also attends Balvihar on Sundays, learning about Hanumanji. He loves attending retreats that include playing soccer against Vivekji, particularly winning against Vivekji. And so I'd love to welcome Teyjas for our dialogue today. Thank you.
Hariom, Teyjas. How are you doing?
Good.
It's
Excited.
I'm excited too, Teyjas. I know it's a little bit late for you, or it will be late for you. So thank you from my side and from everyone's side for staying up late and us hanging out together. So Teyjas, do you want to start asking me a question, or should I start asking you a question? You get to decide.
You start asking me a question.
Okay, sounds good. You and I share an affinity, as in we both like football or American soccer a lot. In your description, you're a sports enthusiast, which is awesome. What have you learned about life from playing soccer? What have you learned about life? Not the sport, but life.
That like if your teammate messes up or something, it's fine. It's okay. Just play your best. If you don't win, it's okay. And then maybe you can win next time.
Mm-hmm. I think an awesome part of what you shared is when your teammate messes up, correct, Teyjas? Because you,
If you
we don't
mess
mess
up,
up. If anyone messes up, it's a bar, but not you and I. And yes, there's another time. That's a great sharing, Teyjas. Shall we go back and forth? Do you want to ask me the next question?
yeah.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. So when is the next retreat with soccer?
Sure. I like to play soccer in every retreat, irrespective if there's snow on the ground. But there's a lot of people here who feel that I threaten their health by encouraging them to play soccer in the snow. So one of those people is Indira, that I encourage her when we're in Cleveland, we should play soccer together, but she says it's too cold. Overall, though, Tejas, I think when we have our retreat in Cleveland at the end of March, and you're not too far from there, we can play soccer. Yeah, will you come?
Yes.
Okay. All right, then I get the next question. When your parents or sister are bothering you or you're feeling annoyed by them, what is the best way to come back to feeling peaceful?
Sometimes uh I'll I sometimes like I try to calm down myself. If it's a big thing, sometimes I can't calm down. So,
Yeah.
and I was gonna ask you a question of like, how can I focus when people around uh me are being too loud?
Yeah. Oh, I feel the same way. There's so many loud people around me. So I was going to ask you the same question, but you read my mind. But here are some things that I do when there's too much noise around me in a proactive way. And what that means is I do this before the noise comes, is I try to sleep early and I try to wake up early. And when I wake up early, I try to engage in dhyana, just like I taught. I engage in quieting practices like reading or journaling. If I become quieter inside, then the noise outside doesn't make me so bothered. The second thing, Tejas, is when you're around a lot of noise, try to focus on the quiet part in that whole scenario, whether it's school or a party. So try to focus on the quiet part, or at least focus on what you're supposed to do there. So like we've moved into a new home and there's so many boxes everywhere. Now, if I try to open all of the boxes at once, I'm going to be overwhelmed. So I just try to do one box at a time, and it helps me to just be more at ease. Okay. And the final thought, Tejas, is press pause. You know, when you're watching a movie like Leo and you have to go to the bathroom and you don't want to miss any part. So what do? You press pause and you go to the bathroom and then you come back. So if you need some time for yourself, then take that time. At home, at school, when you play soccer, you can call a timeout. Then that quietness will become more regular for you. Does that make sense, Tejas?
At school, I try to like we read like chapter books for 15 minutes. So I usually go to the calm down corner, even though like I don't need to calm down, but
Yeah.
I just can just check in with my thoughts, get ready for essentials, and calm
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah, good idea. We should all have a calm down corner in our workplaces, in our cars, in our neighborhood, in our own minds and hearts. Really good ideas, Tejas. Shall I ask the next question, or do you have more questions you want to ask? I'm really letting you be in charge.
You can ask the next question.
Okay. What do you want to be when you grow up? And I want to qualify that. Qualify that means I want to be specific about this. Vivek is very much not interested in you getting into a job in a profession. I'm asking you, what do you want your vocation to be? What do you want to do for your life? Does that make more sense, Tejas?
Kind of.
Okay, try answering it then.
Uh, Mathematician, athlete. I mean, I really love math and I love sports.
Mhm.
So
Okay, so you want to be a mathematician. You want to be a football player. You want to play for the MLS or even more. Why? Why do you want to do this? Why do you like math? Why do you like soccer?
uh, I think I like it because I enjoy it. Like, even when we play soccer at recess, if the other team wins, some we I tell them that they played a good game, and it just makes me happy when I tell them that they played a good game. And yeah.
Yeah, Tejas, and you're the same age as my son. My son is 7, you're 7 also. You're about to turn 8, Tejas, or you just turned 8, correct?
I am
You
8.
are 8. Okay, sorry. My apologies. Thank you for correcting me. And I was just telling all of the people who are a little bit older right now that when you follow the 4Ds, finally you start to exert or work or follow through, and then you get into this self-reward system. A self-reward system is where that happiness stops coming from outside but comes from inside. And you've just described that, you telling the other team that good game or you can win next time, none of that is coming from outside. You suppose you lost that game and you tell them good game, then why are you feeling happy? It's coming from inside of you. That is such a redefinition of prosperity. For you, you don't even need to do that. But for all of us who are a little bit older, we need to unlearn our ideas of prosperity. Good sharing, Tejas. I think you have the next question.
Okay. How should I handle it when I think something's unfair, when the teacher like punishes the whole class when I'm following directions?
Well, in lots of our maps like you're studying about Hanumanji or we're studying Srimad Bhagavatam, whatever happens to us, if it helps us to think better, if it helps us to think along the lines of what Indraji just told us, then it's really not punishment, is it?
Yeah.
Correct, Tejas? So if I'm playing on a team and the coach makes all of us run laps, do I really lose because of that? If my
No.
health is getting better, then I win in that just like everyone else wins in that too. So that would start off with that. If it's helping you to think better, so you slow stigma, so you break stigma, etc., then it's not really a punishment. Then secondly, a teacher is just trying to do their best. And I feel that being a teacher in 2024 is the hardest it's ever been. It is very, very, very hard to be a teacher. I teach in a certain way. I teach EQ and SQ, and it's hard. I'm so moved that there's almost 200 people that are joining us right now on a Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So when you know how hard it is to be a teacher, then you don't hold anything against them so seriously. They're just trying to do their best. Yeah?
Mhm.
Okay. My turn? I can ask you the next question? Okay. Do you think your parents who are joining right now and your grandparents are joining right now. I can see all of them. What do you think your parents and your grandparents are thinking right now? Imagine you're a mind reader. What do you think they're thinking right now as you and I are hanging out in front of 200 people? And this is recorded on on Zoom and YouTube.
What is he thinking? What is
Yeah.
his next question gonna be? Is he's doing very well?
Yeah, and you are doing very well. And I'm sure parents and grandparents are thinking about that, Tejas. Okay, let me give you a little bit of a lighter question. Sometimes I get trapped in my own head. Um, if someone's having a tough time at school, suppose they're going through a stigma about the country they're born in, or the way they look, or the way they speak, what is a way that you can help someone who's going through a tough time?
Uh, Sometimes my sister, she cries about something, so I we have a method at school which is like finger breathing, where you trace your hand with your finger, and sometimes I use that. I'll say like, if you want, we can take it's gonna be fine. We can take some breaths, and uh, it's all gonna turn out okay.
Yes, Tejas. So if I'm clear, because I never learned this when I was younger, you and there's so many other younger people like Simi and Layla, etc. You're really fortunate. I don't even want to say the word lucky. You're fortunate that you're learning all of this about self-therapy and self-development when you're so young. So if I'm crying a lot, then I should trace my hand like this and keep breathing. Is that what I should do?
Yeah.
Finger breathing is okay. Really cool. I'm gonna try that tomorrow when I'm crying a lot. Um, then I'm gonna try that. I like a band so much called Pearl Jam, and you know that, Tejas. So I'm part of their fan club, and I get to request tickets in advance. So they're playing 10 shows in April and May, and today was a great day. I got tickets to 7 of those 10 shows.
Mm.
So I'm coming to Atlanta, I'm coming to Raleigh, I'm going to Nashville, I'm going to Pittsburgh. And there's a song that they sing called It's Okay. And the whole song is Eddie Vedder, their lead singer, and he's just singing, It's okay, it's okay. And it's such a soothing song. So when you tell your sister or your friends that it's going to be all right, that's a really powerful saying. Okay, Tejas, we're gonna slowly wrap up because you have to go to sleep and I have to go to sleep too. We probably go to sleep at the same time. So Tejas, you have the last question for me. Make it a tough one. The toughest one on your mind or on your list.
Why can't I watch more than 20 minutes of TV each weekend? Is or is it okay to watch TV on school nights?
Yes. So here's where I'm gonna secretly look at your dad because he's in a separate camera and your grandparents. So if they're willing to donate more to Saki, my answer can change. So it really depends on that. But here's some thoughts from my own growing up, Tejas. I lived in an apartment above where my parents worked until I was 7 years old. So for the first 7 years of my life, and I have an older sister and a younger sister, we literally lived in a very small space. All 3 of us shared a same room, and we didn't have a lot of place to play, a lot of space to play. But we had a really lovely childhood. We didn't have a Nintendo. We didn't watch that much TV. And even when we watched TV, it was Bollywood movies again and again and again. And so the point that I'm trying to make is that your mind is much powerful than any sort of screen.
Yeah.
And you know that. So I would start off with that. And then the second point I would share, Tejas, is being outside is way more fun than being inside. Correct?
Yeah.
That's why I love teaching meaningful mornings outside, but then so many people started to complain, it's too cold for you. You're gonna get sick. So I was like, oh, I don't want to deal with their complaints. So I started teaching inside. But you agree with me, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So your point about wanting to watch screens during the week or the weekend, I think that if you realize how powerful your mind is, if you're outside more, then you probably won't have that question. And then finally, mm, watching movies is better than watching shows. So ask your grandparents and your parents if you can watch a movie on the weekend. One full movie where you can just chill and watch the whole movie, like Wild Robot. Yeah?
I already watched Wild Robot and I don't watch shows.
Okay. Got it. I like how you keep putting me in my place. I appreciate that. It's very humbling. You can watch Wild Robot again and again and again. We got to see it together while we were in Pittsburgh. I went with Vyasa and Shuka, my kids who are 7 and 5, and now their winter break is going to start, so we're going to watch it again. And my only point that I'm trying to share is that there's some really good movies that you can watch again and again and again. Yeah.
Yeah.
They just thank you so much for really just embracing or being present in our dialogue. You're 8, I'm 28. And so it could be intimidating to hang out with asking me questions in front of so many people, but like so many people are sharing in the chat, way to quieten yourself, way to idolize, everything I taught, really you've been able to do in the last 20-ish minutes. Cool, Teyjas? Anything you want to share with everyone before we end the happiness series for tonight?
Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you for coming, everyone, on behalf of Teyjas and myself. And so our team is going to take over now to shift us from the dialogue to the completion of day 1. And tomorrow, when we all gather, we'll review everything that happened on day 1. We'll get into redefining identity. We're going to be with Indra again and another really cool sharer in our dialogue. Team, please take over.
Hariom Vivek ji, Hariom everyone. What an awesome first day to our happiness series. Just wanted to share a quick announcement about one really awesome facet of our community called Mentorship Sangha. Mentorship Sangha essentially pairs up mentees and mentors. Our mentees are between the ages of 16 to 28, and our mentors are between the ages roughly of 29 to 45. And it's really like having a self-development accountability buddy. So a friend who really is on this path, who's your biggest cheerleader to help you as a seeker. Registration for this for 2025 will commence January 6th. So please stay tuned. Just putting the website link in the chat for everyone to take a look at if this is of interest to you. And in fact, our final wellness workshop is this upcoming Sunday. So please do join us. And with that, we will close out for today. So I'll just chant Shanti 3 times. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hariom everyone. See you all tomorrow.